Ma'am,
Am I audible?
yes, ma'am, you are.
Okay, you let me know when I can start.
We can start at 5, ma'am. I'll just give a short introduction
Okay,
if that is
no,
okay for you.
that's fine, no problem.
Sure. Thank you.
Sanjay, I think we can go forward now. And ma'am, I have given you the presenter, right? Please let me know if you are able to present. Sanjay, you can start.
A very good evening to everyone present. As a part of Vivaan, the annual business flagship summit of IIFT Kolkata, we at Blash, the International Trade Club, and Spoke, the Supply Chain and Operations Energy Club of IIFT Kolkata, are thrilled to welcome Ms. Garima Jain, Deputy CEO and Head of Grades India at Louis Dreyfus Company. Ma'am is an esteemed alumni of IIFT from the batch of 2003 to 5. She has an rich experience of over 17 years in the areas of commodity trading, supply chain management, and risk management. Before joining LDC, ma'am was also working with AgroCorp India Trade Services Private Limited and Cargill. Ma'am is also a board member of the Agricultural Skill Council of India. Ma'am, today we'll be discussing about agri-tech and trade tech, the way forward for Indian agriculture. Ma'am, we are extremely thrilled to have you here. I request you to take it forward from here.
So, thank you, Sanjay, for the warm welcome. It's my pleasure to be here interacting with this, intelligent group. I also saw Tanmay in the list. So, hi, Tanmay. Hope you're doing well. We interacted a couple of months back. Um, so, what I would like to do today is take you through the journey of Indian agriculture, tell you about this sector because this is a very different kind of a sector. And the information available about this sector is not very common. So I would like to first talk about this sector, and then we will talk about a couple of other things like what is the latest, what is the agtech doing currently, what about blockchain, what is the technological advancements that are coming in this sector. So are you able to see my screen?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, let's talk about the journey of Indian agriculture, which is made of 1.39 billion consumers or 900 million rural population. We are going to talk a little bit about Indian macros, how the economy is doing. India, of course, is one of the fastest growing economy today in the world. We are going to talk about rural economy, some of the facts about Indian agriculture, which are hidden behind various myths. Then we will take up what is the latest on AgTech and Tradetech and some of the opportunities that all of us, you, me, put together can bring, as changes in this sector. So some of the facts, we think that because of urbanization, more and more land going to buildings and other usage, we think that Indian agriculture is on a permanent decline. However, I want to bring to light that India ranks today second in the world in agriculture production, speaking on overall basis. India's world rank in services and industry is ninth and fifth, respectively. And so our ag sector is doing pretty well. We are very robust as far as our agriculture sector is concerned. Globally, India ranks ninth in agriculture exports, which is also very important because a lot of people think that because of the huge population of India, we are an import driven or dependent country. However, today we are one of the largest in agriculture export. We are very large producers of pulses, rice, milk, jute, cotton. So overall on food grains, we are doing very well. We are one of the biggest producers of wheat. Of course, rice is there. Milk is something I'll take you through a journey. Despite of growing population, we are able to fulfill almost all the needs of this population. So just to set the context, today, how is Indian economy doing? We are one of the fastest growing economy in the world. The macro trends are very supportive of India's consumption increase. So we all know that we are going through urbanization. All of us have increasing income with growing population. And therefore, the current macro trends of increasing population, young age, demographics, migration, education, income growth, infrastructure development, all of this is very supportive of the consumption growth in India. And also the government of India is very supportive currently to support the processing industry and control inflation. So we are heading towards the next round of growth in the ag sector. The GDP is growing as 9.2%. The consumer market is projected to grow to 5 trillion by 2025. So I think we are on the growth chart as far as India as a geography is concerned. What do we take away from this slide? This slide depicts that India's population is young. The median age of India is about 29 years, and hence we are a very young nation, young, growing, and an educated population. What do we take away from this slide? Forget the various charts and all. I will try and make it very simple for everybody. And also I will try and incorporate few live examples to give you a perspective on what is happening in the real world here in which we are dealing with. So the takeaway from this slide is India is one of the most populous country in the world. The most production surplus countries are, let's say, Russia, one of the largest producer, but their population is stagnant. One of the largest consumer country is China. They are not producers. They are literally driving the world trade flows. And how do you place India? India today is a very high population country, high production country, as well as a very high consumer driven company, which means that this is going to be a growing nation for the next decade or 2 decades or so. And therefore, all of our sectors have to match the pace in their growth. So it can be agriculture, it can be services, it can be IT, it can be ag tech. So in a lot of things, we have to match the pace at which our consumer or consumption is increasing. So Indian agriculture in the 1960s, and none of you would be born during that time, even I was not born. By the way, I'm not so old. So in 1960s, what used to happen? We did not have enough wheat in the country. So every month or every 2 months, one vessel of 60 or 65,000 tons of wheat would load from US. It'll come to India. People will be waiting here that it is going to feed the population of India. This is 1960s. In 2022, India is a country which is producing 100 million tons of wheat. And in fact, last 2 years, we have exported wheat to the rest of the world. So that is the journey that we have seen in Indian agriculture. And that is, come from a lot of factors. It's a tremendous journey of the Indian farmers as to what they have done and given to this nation. So from being a food deficit or a food shortage country to come to a stage wherein we started importing a lot of wheat as our economy grew, to today where we are as a self-sufficient nation is a very long and a tremendous journey. And hence, India has seen a lot of revolutions. So the wheat is a product of green revolution. We have seen white revolution, which is milk. 20 years back, India used to produce only about 19 million tons of milk. Today, India produces 51 million tons of milk. And not only that, we are self-sufficient in the milk production, so much so that we have a surplus on that. And so therefore, we have moved away from a food deficit nation to a self-sufficient nation today. What is India? I define India as 600,000 villages, 100 million farmers. Our rural population is about 900 million. Average farm size is about 1.2 hectares, which is very small. So India is a nation of small landholding. And the average yield of every farm size is about 3 tons. So to put everything in perspective, an average farmer in India produces about 3 tons. So 3 tons is about 3,000 kgs. And to give you a perspective, when we are exporting a commodity from India, and I've been into grains for a very long time. So if we have to load a vessel of 60 or 65,000 tons from India, what does it mean? It means that we buy wheat from more than 20,000 farmers in the country. This is the scale of fragmentation in India, which brings its own challenges and opportunities. Agriculture is the backbone of Indian economy. India is an agrarian economy, and it is going to be like that. And rural economy constitutes about 46% of the national income. So this is the real India for you. We were talking a bit about food production, or let's say food grain. So about in 2002 to around 2004, India was producing about 220 million tons of food grain, so which incorporates rice, wheat, coarse cereals, and pulses. From 220 million tons to 300 and almost 313, so 310 or so million tons of food grains today on the table in just a span of 20 years. Similarly, on, for example, cotton, India today plays a significant role in exporting cotton from the country. And that is also a result of this GM seed variety. Sugarcane, India is a perpetual exporter of sugar. Oilseeds is a different story, but food grain has been a success story in India. And how we have done is this has been possible because of better facilities on and the work we have done on irrigation, on crop rotation, on increasing usage of better variety seeds. We've also been able to increase the area. We've brought in a lot of fallow land, and then we've also done a lot of crop rotation, which I'm going to talk about in one of the subsequent slides. And so therefore, going forth, we are going to be 1.7 billion population by 2050. You know, of course, agriculture has to keep pace. And so next 30 years are going to be dedicated to technological intervention in agriculture because our land sizes are limited. And via technological advancements, what we need to do is on the same area, we need to have better yields. So to give you an example, our yields of corn today are equivalent to what US was producing about 20 years back. We are that far behind in the productivity of our land. And so with the same land, we have to work to increase the productivity, which is going to happen via a lot of other interventions. And I firmly believe that technology is going to play a significant role in Indian agriculture, which is where you see a lot of startups coming in the entire supply chain, bringing solutions to the entire supply chain from the farmer till the consumer. And you see lots of market platforms coming up, and lots of companies and startups are working around that. So to reiterate the same point, we think that Indian agriculture is unable to feed the increasing population. No, we are doing very well, not only in food grains, but we are doing very well on vegetables, fish, fruits. Our horticulture has completely outpaced and surprised the entire world. Milk, we just spoke about. Poultry is doing extremely well. And so, all in all, the country is able to meet its needs of food, as well as we are moving towards, let's say, the protein and the nutrition scarcity that we have in India. So from food deficit to self-sufficient to meeting the nutritional requirements of our nation. For example, if you go to various villages and some of the rural areas, the protein intake is one of the lowest in India today. Probably we do not even know, or let's say half of the population does not even know that what should be the ideal protein intake. For us, milk is the biggest source, and pulses as well is the biggest source of protein. But our protein intake is highly deficit, and therefore you see, if some of you are following, you see a lot of plant protein is coming up in India to cater to the vegetarian population in India, which is about 30%. And so, and even Government of India is also doing a lot. For example, they distribute pulses in their Anganwadi and all those schools they're running, so that children are able to get sufficient protein in their diet. So a lot of work is being done, but very proud to say that today we are not talking about any food deficiency in the country or so, but we're talking about meeting the nutritional scarcity that we have as a geography. And so we just spoke about it. Is India only about food grains? No, we are doing very well in milk, cotton, spices. We're the second largest producer of textile, sugar, coal, grains as well. Third largest in fish, egg, poultry, and electricity production in the world. And so we are, pretty much able to engage a very large share of small and marginal farmer, and they are playing a very critical role in the rural economy. And this is something that I just spoke about, that protein-driven diet is going to be the focus in the next few years, the next decade. Again, technology is going to play a significant role. So you see a lot of startups are enabling fresh fruits and vegetables to the urban population. There are lots of platforms to do that. The world has moved to online delivery. So in the fresh vegetables or fruits or anything at your home, you do get delivered it at your door place. People have, a lot of startups are focused on the organic farming, which is again towards a protein driven, or let's say a better diet overall. Are our farmlands underutilized? No, India is one of the country which does crop rotation very successfully. So recently I visited farmers near Jaipur, and what they do is in between two crops, usually they will, they will have cultivation of various vegetables or fresh vegetables. So the point I want to drive is that India is a country which is doing crop rotation very successfully on the same farmland. The farmers are able to have 2 to 3 crops at the minimum, which is uh, basically utilizing the land in a very meaningful way. Indian farmers, are they uneducated? Let me tell you, they are, super efficient. The mindset of Indian farming is still traditional, which is quite good. But the farmers are very educated. If you go to any rural areas and the kind of technological uses they are doing today, it's unimaginable. And I will give you a live example here. In Kerala, there were lots of geographies or areas which were producing fish, and every area was selling fish at their own pace. And if you read about this case study, you will find it somewhere online as well. And with the mobile usage and this technological intervention, today they are able to um, get the best price of the fish, because now the farmer in Kerala knows that what is the price of the fish internationally, what is the price of the fish, in my neighborhood or in another village or in that area. So this is a success story wherein the farmers have successfully used technology to get the best value of their produce. And I will recommend you to go, online and read about this success story. It is very exciting, and one will feel, it has been an incredible journey for them. Are we dependent upon monsoon or rainfall, especially on Indian ag? Over the last few years, Indian agriculture has worked quite a lot. We have worked quite a lot on irrigation. And so today we are pretty much monsoon resilient, I would say. And we are able to predict and mostly able to manage any major variations in the monsoon, unless there are great shakes. And so this is a myth that we are heavily dependent on rainfall. I think we have done quite a bit on our water facilities, so that is pretty good journey altogether. Resource constraints. Yes, today we are constrained on land, labor, and water. And I would like to give you an example. For example, India is one of the largest exporter today of rice and sugar. Both the crops are highly water intensive, and so when we are exporting sugar and rice, in effect, actually, India is exporting water, which is, let's say, literally draining out our resources. And so, therefore, for the next journey of Indian ag is going to be more driven on sustainable agriculture. What is sustainable agriculture? What does that mean? It means that the myth that the more fertilizer you put into the soil, the better the produce is going to be. No, you necessarily do not need to put high amount of fertilizers into the soil. You have to just put the right amount of fertilizer. Um, so for example, and why I'm talking about this is because I'm going to talk about ag tech in my next slide. And therefore, just to set the context here, um, for example, on the soil, the more water you put, the better it is. No, one has to measure what is the soil precipitation, and therefore what is going to be the right usage of irrigation that should be applied on the soil. So therefore, the next phase of agriculture is all about ag tech, and you see a lot of companies are working around that. There are many success stories. Um, And so, what these companies are doing, these companies or startups are intervening at each level. So, for example, there are startups which are working at the farmer consolidation and bringing farmers on one platform. And because we are very marginalized, we have very marginalized farmer here, and the landholding is very small. And so, they're bringing together most of the farmers. For example, in earlier times, the farmer needed to own tractors and all, and equipments as well. Today, there are companies which are available uh, near these villages, and what they are doing is they are offering these equipments and tractors on rent. And so every farmer do not need to own the equipments and tractors, etc. These companies have come in and brought a solution to all these farmers. Then there are many fintech companies which are working with these farmers to have an easy access of capital, which used to be a big problem earlier because the farmer would need to sell all their produce at one go because they need the cash for the rest of the year, which is not a problem anymore. Then you will see lots of companies working on precision technology. What is all of that? These companies put some equipments at the farmer's plot, which guides them to say that this is the right amount of fertilizer, right amount of water, and they use all sorts of technology. You have all drones these days, you have all those equipments on their farms, you have AI giving its own inputs. And so that is also guiding the farmer as to what is the right amount of usage that one needs to do. And therefore, you know, let's say bring the best productivity from those farmlands. Then there are startups which are working on the market linkages. So, for example, they are connecting directly the farmers with the consumers. You do not need to have various intermediaries in between. So, in the earlier times, you would hear your in your family, if you go to your villages and all, and if you hear from your forefathers, they will talk about kachi adat and pakki adat and commission agent. um, Currently, most of the companies are bringing up with platforms which removes all these intermediaries, and there is a direct farmer to consumer connect, bringing in more efficiency and removing all the intermediaries. And therefore, the consumer, or let's say the farmer, both are able to match and get the best price. And so, therefore, I talk about the agtech market estimated at $24 billion, huge market, huge potential. Current market participation is only 1%, with only market linkages and financial services. If you talk about the ag supply chain, a lot can be done at each and every step. Um, for example, there are companies which are working on the right variety of the seed which is required for the soil. There are also discussions about drought resistant seed. So if there is a drought, even then the seed will be able to resist the weather and be able to grow into a fully mature crop. Uh, and so this market has huge potential, which is why in the ag sector, you will see a lot of startups, entrepreneurs coming. Um, and this is the need of the hour in India. So all of us can participate and do our bit. So for example, there are various segments like market linkage, precision ag, quality management and traceability, supply chain, financial services. For people like us, uh, and let's say the privileged ones, today we are not concerned about what is the price of potato or tomato. I think we have gone beyond those kind of discussions. What we need, and we are ready to pay for a clean, hygienic product. So we are ready to pay more for a product which is safely packed, nicely packed, free of germs or free of inorganic stuff. We are very happy to receive fresh fruits and vegetables. In yesteryears, our parents would be able to keep vegetables for like a week or so. Today, you try and do that in 3 days, you will feel your vegetables are already rotten, and hence you will be happy to pay a price to a vegetable which is delivered to your doorstep in a very fresh manner. So it's just an eye opener to the segment I'm talking about and where the Indian ag is moving towards. And hence we see a lot of investments in startups, farm linkages, investment in FPO. What is FPO? Indian farm landing is very small. And therefore, what government has done is that they've encouraged farmer produce organizations. So which means that all the farmers of one village come together and they make an FPO. What does an FPO do? The FPO has much more strength to operate in the market. And so right now, at what stage we are? We are in a first generation FPO wherein the farmers have come together and they're able to, let's say, negotiate better and have some better calls because of the strength of them coming together. But in the next few years, or the second generation FPOs and third generation FPOs will be very robust, and they will be able to literally, dip into the banking channels, dip into the market linkages, and they will be much more aware on what is happening around India and what are the technological advancements that have happened in this sector. And so the investment in FPOs is happening in a very robust way, and going to grow uh, as we have third or second or third generations in FPOs. Direct engagement with farmers is just what we spoke about. There is there were a lot of discussion about farm laws recently, wherein government was trying to link the farmers directly with the corporates. And I'm sure all of you would have heard about, a lot of protests around the country on those farm laws. But what the farmers were trying to do is they were trying to remove the inefficiencies in between, and they were connecting farmers directly with the corporates so that the farmers are able to fetch the right price for themselves. And so once again, these are the opportunities which are upcoming in this sector. We spoke about tractors and equipments. We spoke about precision ag, farming as a service, FAAS. We just touched upon ag tech, food processing and packaging. In simple words, it means that there will be a lot of growth in processing sector. Government is also very supportive of that. And why? Because the consumer today is demanding for a better product, a safe product, a hygienic product, and ready to pay for that. Cold chain, which relates to logistic. Today, our infrastructure and logistics are a bit challenged, and a lot more needs to be done as far as the infrastructure and logistics are concerned. And cold chain is one of the ways and forms which will help us do that. Um, we do have cold chain picking up in various specific pockets in the country, but there will be a stage, it'll come in the next 5 7 years, wherein you will see that you will have all the vegetables and fruits available to you throughout the year. So there will be no, as such, no seasonal thing left, or you will not be really waiting for anything. It will be available to you throughout the year because of these facilities that will be available in the country. And I just wanted to touch a little bit more on what are the opportunities available in this sector. So, for example, there are, lots of companies working in various sectors. Um, there are companies which are really data driven. So, what they are doing is they are geo tagging every farm. And so what is going to happen is that, these companies will verify the land records and all these farms, therefore the data of all these farms will be available to everybody. It will be all digitized, and on the click of the button you will be able to know the name of the farmer, the legacy, what they're producing, what have been the yields in yesteryears, what are they producing now, what are their plans for the coming year, and what is the expected productivity. And with that, the data will be so strong that eventually you will have the data of literally all the farmers in the country, and your estimates of the crop are going to be sacrosanct, is the stage that we are going to reach to. Then we spoke about lots of companies working on various market platforms. So that's spoken about. A lot of companies are working on food lab, testing all the quality, um, and I think we've touched quite a bit about it. Robotics is picking up, biotech is picking up, farming as a service, FAAS is picking up, wherein we spoke about renting out farm equipments, farm mechanization and automation. So these are big changes that are happening in this sector. And on the right, I have mentioned few companies, and these are all startups, 4 to 5 years down the line. Um, they will have tremendous data at their hand. And these are very recent stuff, 2 3 years, 4 5 years is what they've been working upon. And today they are bringing tremendous change in this sector. So the opportunities in this sector are tremendous. These are just a little bit more about the companies that are working on full stack solutions, technological advancements, enablement is about what is the output and bringing about in the supply chain solutions. Freemium model, animals on. So there is a lot of trading happening on the animals. So there are companies which are bringing up platforms to get the right value for the animals, which is called as animal.in. Um, and looking at the interest of the time, I'll quickly also cover blockchain. What is blockchain? People are talking about it. So what happens is, forget all these charts and all. Um, okay, so but what is happening is when we load a vessel, for example, from Black Sea to India, the vessel loading will take a couple of days in Black Sea, and then the transit time can vary between 30 days or 40 days, depending upon the vessel is going from which country to which country. Let's say about 30, 35, or 40 days, speaking on average. Um, and in those 30, 35 days, in the meantime, what happens is the documents from the origin needs to be prepared. They have to be verified from the government of the origin or originating country. And there are lots of documents to support that this commodity has been loaded onto this vessel. This is the quantity, and this is the quality of the goods that have been loaded, supporting that transaction. And you know, um, while the documents are prepared and the vessel is on the transit, the documents have to go via the bank to verify it. Before the vessel reaches here, the documents are supposed to be at the destination country, which let's say, for example, it is India in this case. Um, and therefore, once the documents arrive here, it has to be verified through customs in India. So the point I want to tell you is that all this process takes a lot many days, 15, 20 days, 25 days. And there are instances where the vessel reaches the destination even before the documents have reached. And there are lots of such instances because there can be short transit time as well, depending upon the trade flows. And therefore, the vessels have to wait at the destination geographies to let the document flow come and happen and verify and all of that story, which in turn means that there are charges on the vessel. Uh, uh, so in our parlance, the damages on the vessels are there. What is blockchain? Blockchain is a technology which is removing all this document flow, and yet they are involving the seller, the buyer, the customs, the bank, the originating country customs, all these counterparties and people who are concerned are coming on one platform, and they have designed a way wherein you can digitally verify the documents, pass it through a bank, and digitally uh, you're able to have the flow of the documents, and therefore it saves us a lot of time on the document flow. In simple language, this is what blockchain is. Uh, and of course, a lot of technology has gone behind it because you have to be 200% sure of the document, of the digital information that is being recorded um, and being verified. You have to ensure that nobody touches those documents. It has to be done in a manner that nobody can edit it, alter it, check it. This is what blockchain is, and this is really changing the trading world, especially in commodities. Because let's say 15, 20 days, if it takes to verify the documents, somebody is paying the interest on that capital. Every vessel can cost you $10 million, $20 million, sometimes $30 million. What it is going to change is that the interest on that capital is going to be saved. The demurrage and the vessel holding charges are going to be saved. And there is a lot of other miscellaneous costs that are going to be saved. So blockchain is changing the commodity trading in a manner that you're not only bringing in a lot of saving in terms of really financials, but also the time it is taking for various transactions. So I just wanted to speak about this. Uh, I think that covers a little bit on uh, specifically, blockchain comes under trade tech. So this is what technology is doing to the commodity world, and that is how it is changing this landscape and this arena altogether. I just wanted to bring one more aspect of logistics here. This is what we do in India. These are our major ports. But this is what we do in India. If you visited any mandi, the grain comes to the mandi or the aggregation centers like this. We pack it in the bags. There is labor involved. We don't have enough storage spaces, so this is how we store. Sometimes in open, sometimes with in covered warehouses. These are some of the operations that we do in our commodity aggregation centers. These are some of the port operations that we do. Why am I showing this to you is because India is still doing this. The rest of the world has moved away from all of this. The rest of the world operates in elevators, silos, no human touch, no bags. Even today, if we talk to our global offices and we tell them that this is how we pack the grain in bags and this is how people put it on their back and this is how we store it, they are shocked as to how we are surviving in all of this. And so, again, um, I think we are still maybe about few decades behind as to where we should be. So we have to move towards elevators, taking the grain directly to the storage areas in the silos. The railways need to have those kind of capacities wherein they can take directly the grain from the elevators directly onto the railway wagons and then you transport it. And I think a lot of changes are going to come in these operations also, because that is also the need of the hour. So this is what I wanted to, bring forth and bring to light to you, to all of you, that Indian agriculture is doing fantastically well. The farmers in of India have done a tremendous job. Production is not a problem. Energy, yes, is a bit of constraint. Um, we do have food versus fuel debate, which is ethanol. I'm sure you guys are reading about it. Um, so food today, we are looking at Black Sea, Russia-Ukraine war, and somewhere food has been weaponized as well. We are looking at a lot of restrictions for the food grain to come out of Black Sea. As far as India is concerned, I think we are doing very well. Looking at the land pressure and the resource constraints that we have, we are still making the optimum use of the land that we have. And the importance of technology is going to be the next disruption in the country. We are going to see tremendous change within this country, and all of us together have to bring all those changes wherein we can contribute to bring these meaningful changes in this sector. Yeah.
Would it be okay with you if our students could ask a few questions?
Of course.
Like you can raise your hands, everyone. Like Dasari Hari Prasad. Please go ahead.
Good evening, ma'am. I'm Hari Prasad. Thank you for the wonderful session. We gained a lot of knowledge out of it. My question is regarding national logistics policy that has been rolled out very recently and how it is going to benefit the farmers in India.
So,
Yes, ma'am.
see, all the policies which are designed for the farmers and particularly for meeting specific cases they're very good and they should be implemented. I will tell you why few of the things have so far not been successful is because we do not have. Okay, so when we are talking about Indian ag, we need to have a very robust supply chain end to end. So, for example, when I spoke about logistics and handling the grains in bulk, uh, where is the problem today? The problem is we do not have open wagons today. We do not have the railway infrastructure available to handle bulk loading. um, Government of India is not able to increase the railway capacity because the axles are imported from China. So the point I'm trying to drive is that the policy is extremely good. It is there to bring meaningful change and it is very helpful. The only thing is that it has to be implemented properly. Usually there are a lot of PPP models in which the payback from the government is like 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. The private investment do not like those kind of things, and if those kind of things can be, payments and paybacks and support from the government in all these implementation of the policies can be handled, I think it's going to be a turnaround for the country.
Thank you, ma'am.
Tanmay Gera, please go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Good to see you back today again. So,
Yeah, hi
my
Tanmay.
question is that. So, my question is that how agri-tech can help in minimizing the waste which we see in the agriculture.
See, the wastage today is happening at every level. First, what happens is when we are bringing the material to mandi, there there some of the wastages are happening. Then we are transporting the goods from one point to another point in railways. Then some bit of shortage is coming and the grains are falling from the wagons here and there. Then once the grains are reaching at any point in time at any destination, we are again taking it, loading it into the bags, and the labor is taking it. So to give you a perspective, the number on the wastage only on wheat is about 7%, which means that if you're producing 100 million tons of wheat, about 7 million tons of wheat is wasted, which is huge. What can AgTech do? Well, I mean, at the end of the day, we have to work on our logistics properly and infrastructure. And as I said, um, if you're able to have certain kind of elevation capacities at the farmlands, if you're able to put silos, there are zero shortages into that. If you're able to reduce human intervention and if you're able to do it all mechanically, I think a lot of companies are working towards it already. Uh, for example, Adani today is an example of port efficiency. They've increased the load rate tremendously. They are able to control a lot of port operations. So the answer to your question is that it has to happen at every step, end to end. Many companies are working towards it, and I think eventually we will be able to see these losses getting reduced, which is very huge today. So technology is playing a significant role. We need to have the infrastructure end to end to prevent any kind of wastages.
Thank you ma'am, for answering.
Aditya Shankaran, please go ahead.
Good evening, ma'am. I am Aditya Sankaran from Batch of 20. I'd like to know that while, ma'am, you are rightfully stated after protest regarding the GM Santo tried to came in, still led to huge. That means
So I can't hear properly. It's interrupting in between.
audible now.
Okay. No, sorry, I can't hear. I don't know why. I can't hear Aditya.
While we that a lot of farmers have embraced as the protest Santo tried to came in of protest. There's still a lot of Indian farmers this modern. How can we overcome?
Sorry, I couldn't hear the entire question. If someone can repeat it.
Ma'am, he's just typing his question in the chat box.
Okay,
That is
okay,
fine.
perfect, perfect. So I just wanted to present a very basic picture of what Indian ag as a sector is doing, where we are, and what kind of changes are going to happen in the next 2 decades, and therefore what opportunities it brings for you, me, companies, everybody. Collectively, we have to work to bring those changes. I hope it was meaningful for everybody. Yeah, so any more questions?
Ma'am, he has put in his question in the chat box.
Okay, let me just check. Yeah, Aditya. So, these concerns happen, when you talk about changing few things on the farmland, you're right. But let me tell you, you and I will think twice to adopt any technology, but Indian farmer, they are extremely smart and they are the first ones to adopt the technology. And we have seen it in many areas. They're very smart about it. So the first inhibition is there, but they're also ready to experiment. So, for example, how we have been so successful in horticulture is because the same farmer was advised to cut a small portion from their plot and use it for vegetables. They did it, and Indian horticulture has been a success story. How we have transformed our milk production, we have not done anything extra, but what we have done is we have engaged the women in the villages, which is who's doing 10 other things, to also milk the milch animals, and that has become so huge. Nobody has come and extra trained them. They have done it on their own. They have been able to therefore use all kind of technology. And today we are looking at a milk production which is significant in the world. What have we done in cotton? In cotton, the pace of adoption of GM seed in India in cotton is 95%. Nowhere in the world has the adoption of GM seed has been so successful. So the answer that I want to give you is that it's not right to say that the farmers are scared or not ready to adopt the changes. In fact, they're extremely smart and they are ready to experiment, which is helping all the companies, which is why you see all these successful startups today. The farmers are literally using their phones and all those information that is available to them and adopting these changes. So it is a success story.
Thank you so much for that, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. So I think there are no more questions. So we would like to conclude the session. So on behalf of the entire team and IIFT, I would like to thank you for taking out time from your busy schedule. I'm sure your depth of understanding about the field has helped increase the students' knowledge and increased interest in the field of international trade. We thank you again, ma'am, for spending time with us and sharing your knowledge with us. Thank you, ma'am.
Uh, Thank you. It was a pleasure interacting with all of you. So thanks a lot. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. I can leave the session now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks all. Best of luck.